Hey, thanks for stopping by Jobcast by Indeed. Today we're covering Forward March, the job search for military service members and spouses. One of the experts that we have with us today, Jacqueline Scaramazzo, who is a military spouse and works on the talent attraction team at Indeed. She has a lot of great personal stories that she can lend during, exploring your next job, especially as a military spouse or anyone looking for their next career. I myself, I'm Andrew Dennis, military and veterans programs at Indeed, and I'm excited to kick this off. So, learning objectives. What are we going to learn today? Well, we're going to discuss current job search and hiring trends. I know with a lot of uncertainty going on with COVID 19, we want to make sure that you guys have the most up to date data, understand how to create an account and find jobs on Indeed. Also, explore how job seekers with military experience can use Indeed. So whether you're looking for your first job, leaving the service, looking for your job as a military spouse or a veteran, we want to make sure that you guys have the tools that you need. We help people get jobs. This is our mantra. This is our day to day. This is what fires us up when we go to work. What can we do today to make sure that people can get jobs? I, working on the military program side, is really geared towards how can I help the military community find their next job. So we have over 1.9 million job seekers with military experience on our platform today. This is all self-identified information by filling out their military service. What this really shows and the growth that we've seen over the past few years is the military community is really trusting Indeed with their next job search. And that's something that we take to heart. And we're excited to share how to do a job search, or even if you know, maybe some tips and tricks on how to improve. So really what we want to do here is we want to build a bridge. What is the easiest way we can have employers find the military talent they're looking for? What is the easiest way we can get any type of job seeker with military experience or within the military community on Indeed feel comfortable and find their next job? How do we bridge the gap between the two? Well, one way of doing so is employers can easily access and connect with the service members on Indeed. And by doing so, we've seen that 260,000 job seekers with military experience are contacted each month on our platform. When it comes to the job seekers themselves, we see about 90,000 resumes being updated or added each month with military experience. That's important. Even if you have a job right now and you might be dipping your toes in the water or seeing what else is out there, having your resume updated is a great way to start. It's going to alert the employers that this person might be looking for another job. It might open up new opportunities. And we have about 1.4 million jobs on Indeed that are being added each month with the words military and or veteran in the job description or the title. Again, employers are trying to get in front of you. So doing different searches, which we'll go over in a little bit, can really help your chances of finding that next opportunity. So military service members and spouses make strong candidates. I know I don't have to tell you, but this is really something that you should own. Adaptability, stress management, commitment, longevity. The diverse skill sets that you've learned, obtained, and grown over the past few years or during your military career is something not to take to light or lightheartedly. Really own the type of skills that you're bringing to any organization. Understand the value that you bring and how it can better an organization. This is also why organizations are looking for talent that has been within the military community. They know what you bring, but make sure that you show that and exemplify that. So we're going to cover some job search and hiring trends. For me, this is the most exciting part when I help the military community figure out what's going on out there. These are always changing. With the times, they're always changing. Different locations are changing. But in general, when we look across the US, the most recent data that we've pulled are these are the top 20 jobs that we see job seekers with military experience engaging with on our platform. Installation and maintenance is number one. Management is number two. Drive-in, administration, and warehouse round out the top five. So again, when you start thinking about what did you do in your military career, Would you be a good manager? Those are things to start considering when you start doing your job search, finding what's out there, understanding the skills that you bring and how you can lend your skills to any organization. But just because you did something in the military doesn't mean you have to do that in the civilian world. As you see, number 6, sales, there is no MOS correlation between sales or customer service. But these are things that we're seeing the military community want to pursue and get into. Retail is up there as well. So when you start thinking of these things, what do you want to do? What do you want to do next? What do you think you would be good at? What are the transferable skills that you can bring on over to any organization and show that you could be one of the top sales reps at an organization if given the time to do so. So think about what are other people in the community doing, and then how can you best set yourself up for success to do the same thing or do something different. When you're looking for jobs, here are the top 10 locations where we're seeing folks with military service on their resume search for jobs. We have San Antonio, Houston, Jacksonville, Las Vegas, Atlanta. When you're thinking about what job you want to do next, location is key. How many different jobs are in that area? What type of industries are in that area? If you were to leave this job tomorrow, are there other opportunities that match up? So if you're just transitioning out of the service, do a few searches as Jacqueline's going to cover and really see what does the job market look like in that area? Is that an area where you can grow? Or is it an area where there's not a lot of opportunity for your niche or your background that you're trying to pursue? As we've seen, about 23% of job seekers with military experience on Indeed are open to relocation. So no one in the military is, not going to relocate after their service ends, or maybe you want to stay put of where you're getting out. But we see this number a lot higher with the military community than we do with the average job seekers. So think about that as well. Do you want to relocate again? Are you happy where you're going to get out of the military? Do you want to go back to where your hometown is? But doing these searches and refining and repeating this process and understanding where the opportunities are that best fit your background, your needs, or the lifestyle that you're trying to pursue, doing a quick search is going to give you that type of answer. For many of you on the call, I know work from home is kind of one of those new terms that's being thrown around quite a bit, or remote work. I think this is a great time that for military spouses and folks in the military who are going to be able to put in the search terms work from home and remote work. And when they apply to jobs, and if they see that you're a military spouse or they see that you've been in the military, you're open to these opportunities. More and more companies are now open to these opportunities. So we've seen a huge shift in the market and the landscape for being more open to work from home and remote opportunities. So take advantage of this. See what type of companies are offering work from home or remote. See where that can land you. And now I'm going to pass it off to Jacqueline, who's going to help you set up your Indeed account and how to search for your next job.
Awesome, Drew. There's so many different avenues to narrow down your search and find those key industries and positions that are a great fit for your background. So where to begin? The first step to successful search on Indeed is to set up an account. Easy enough. Users can sometimes be confused about whether they have an Indeed account already, since having an account isn't required to search for jobs. Having an account is necessary in order to create a resume and communicate with employers. So we recommend setting this up as soon as you can and logging in whenever you're on the site. To create an account, open your internet browser and type go.indeed.com/account in the address bar. On that page, enter your email, retype your email, and enter a password. Then click Create Account. Or you can connect your Google or Facebook accounts to log in for easier access. If you want to search for Indeed right from your phone, we suggest downloading the free Indeed job search app. You can easily search and apply for jobs right from your phone. If you already have an Indeed account, sign in by clicking the Sign In button at the top right of the home screen and entering your email and password. Indeed has over 25 million job listings. We want to help you find a job, but not just any job. Knowing how to search Indeed can help you find the best job for you. Using Indeed is similar to using a general search engine such as Google. First, in the box labeled "What," type a description of the kind of job you're looking for, such as a job title, skill, or a company name. Next, in the "Where" box, type the city, the state, or the zip code where you want to find a job. Or you could even enter remote or work from home here. Finally, click Find Jobs or press Enter on your keyboard to go to the search results page. The search results will contain jobs with all of the words in the "What" box. Indeed, searches are not case sensitive, which means you can enter uppercase or lowercase letters to get the same results. The first way to narrow your search results is to be specific about what you're looking for. For example, if you search program manager in Austin, Texas, we get almost 400 plus jobs. But if we search program manager IT, we can narrow that down to more than 150 job listings. Another way to narrow in on the best results is the filter the job search results by salary, location, and the type of job in the search engine results page. Use these filters, which are at the top of the search results page, to start seeing jobs that meet your preferences. So for instance, we can use filters to find only program manager IT jobs that are full-time or within 25 miles of Austin. If you're searching and applying for jobs from your phone, you can filter your results to show only those jobs listings that you are able to apply from your phone. Click the Advanced Job Search link next to the Find Jobs button on your search results page. The advanced search, you can narrow or broaden your search based on things like company, salary, or age of the job posting. For example, say you're looking for a role in marketing, but find that many of your search results are for jobs in sales, which is related, but not what you're interested in. You can put sales in the "with none of these words" box to filter out those postings. This is also useful for combining searches, like if a role you're looking for has varied titles. So if you're searching for marketing, you could add coordinator, you could add analyst, associate, and any other titles you'd consider in the "with at least any of these words" box. Some names and phrases are better known for their abbreviations than their full names. To make sure you don't miss out any of these jobs, you use both the abbreviated and unabbreviated forms together. So for example, to search human resource jobs, put HR and human resources here. Once you've figured out the search terms that get you the right results, you can automate your search using job alerts. Job alerts are email updates about new jobs that fit your criteria. It's a convenient way to see how new jobs that are posted as soon as the employers post them. You can create multiple job alerts and have them sent to you either daily or weekly. To activate your job alerts, go to the top right of your search results page, enter your email, and click Activate. To set up job alerts on your mobile phone, scroll to the bottom of the search results page, enter your email, and click Activate. Be sure to figure out the best search queries to get the types of jobs you want before setting up that job alert. This way, the email updates are more likely to contain new jobs that you're actually a fit for. If the job alert is too broad, you may get too many emails of jobs that you don't want. You can pause, delete, and manage job alert frequency in your account at subscriptions.indeed.com. On some job posts, you'll see a company rating out of 5 stars. If you click the rating or the company name, you'll get linked to that company page, which has some really useful information like photos and videos showcasing a company's mission and values, culture, and offices. Some employers also link their social feeds so that you can access even more content of this type. Also, millions of ratings and reviews from current and former employees so that you can get a true sense of what it's really like to work at that company. You can also find common questions about interviewing for and working at that company. Often, those are answered by employees themselves. Also, they give you an opportunity to add questions on that company and get them answered by employees as well. When you follow a company's page, you'll get email notifications that an employer has posted new jobs. And then last but not least, salary data is there too to help you select appropriate salary brackets when filtering your job search, as well as negotiate confidentially when you receive a job offer. We also have a place for you to see top-rated workplaces for veterans. These are companies that are branding themselves specifically to you as they are looking for your skills and expertise and hope that you choose them as a company to consider as you're looking for your next career change. Once you've found a job that you're interested in, it's time to apply. With the Indeed resume, you can apply for jobs in just a few clicks. If you are signed in, applying with your Indeed resume with the default option for completing an application. Keep an eye out for jobs that have the Apply with your Indeed resume label. Your resume is sent directly to the employer rather than redirecting you to the company website or application tracking system to re-input all of your resume information. Another important feature about job posts is that you can save them. Just click Save Job or the little heart icon. To find it later, go to apptracker.indeed.com or just go to My Jobs in your menu. You can also track your applications here. The page may look a little different in the future as we're working on adding more personalized data regarding your application. Like a number of applicants and when your application was viewed by the employer. We are here to help. During this time, we have been hard at work to ensure that your virtual interviewing hasn't slowed down your efforts in landing a job. We have created new search tools to showcase finding remote and immediate fill positions, as well as our exciting virtual hiring events that showcase companies who are looking to hire on the spot. We also have free virtual workshops and jobcasts on demand to be here when you need advice and practice. Again, we're here to help. Check in with us at indeed.com/hire/veterans to find resources and support to get you through this exciting career change.
With that, I was saying I want to go ahead and jump into our Q&A. You know myself, Andrew, but I do want to introduce the other panelists that I have on. So with that, Mike, I'm going to go ahead and have you tell a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi. I'm Mike Caccaro, Army veteran and a program manager here at Indeed, and I've been here for about 4 years.
Awesome. All right, Christina, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Rippo. I'm a university recruiter here, and I've been at Indeed since July of 2015, so a little over 5 years.
Awesome. And last but not least, Mr. McQuinn.
Hey, everyone. My name's Steven. I'm a senior technical recruiter in Austin with Indeed, and I've been with the company for a little over 4 years now. Total, I have about 11 years experience in the recruiting space, kind of a blend between agency, external recruiting, mixed with internal corporate recruiting.
Wonderful. We have a lot of experience in different topics. We're excited to go through some of these questions. I encourage you to please do not hesitate to put your question in that chat box. There is no such thing as a silly question. If you have it, I am sure other people have it as well. So with that, we are going to kick this off. The top question, which is a phenomenal question that I am going to point over to Mike. What do you think is the biggest misconception of veterans in the workplace?
Sure. Yeah, I'd say I haven't actually seen this, but I'd say some I've heard before maybe that veterans could be perceived that they're not going to be able to learn new things. And and that's going to be a steep learning curve for them in the civilian world. But I think that a lot of veterans are going to have stories where they were put into responsibilities that they weren't trained for, or they had to hit the ground running, and then they can elaborate on that in their resume with stories of large responsibility early on and jumping into roles they weren't prepared for. So we know that we can learn pretty fast. I think we can overcome that.
That's phenomenal. Yes, from a recruiter standpoint, I would definitely recommend practice how you will answer some of these more of traditional interviewing questions by adding in some of those examples that Mike had said, those soft skills. So it comes out naturally as you're outlining your experience and what you bring to the table.
Yeah, I think one of the misconceptions as well is what roles are actually in the military. I think a lot of people always kind of think about the movies or combat arms, but they're not really thinking about all of the kind of back of the house jobs, the logistics, the legal jobs, medical operations. There's a lot of other occupations within the military. So, keeping a broad mind and an understanding of what talents, experiences these folks bring can really, help you choose the right candidates, project management, software, et cetera. So I think that's something to keep in mind, that, every job in the military almost has a pathway to a civilian job, if you think about it that way.
Awesome. That's phenomenal. Okay, so moving on to the next question, I see one around retiring out of the military, looking for some advice on how to showcase your experience but not aging yourself, which is a very true thing. I think what I would definitely recommend is focus on developing a really good target resume. We have a lot of recommendations in terms of chronological resumes and targeted resumes on Indeed.com. So definitely check those out. But when I mention target resumes, I would really take the time to look at the type of role that you're trying to get into, or the type of company, the type of industry, and drafting a resume that is going to be focused on those particular skills that you bring to the table and the experience that is relevant to that job, and listing that in the top part of your resume. It's not necessary that you list every single role that you've had in your entire professional career when doing a targeted resume, but that could really showcase what you're bringing to the table without aging yourself, if that's a concern.
Yeah, one thing throughout a lot of the webinars we have, kind of a rule of thumb that I've picked up from various employers and their recruiters that hire military, is when it comes to the resume, think about what have you done in the past 10 years and how has that experience given you what you need, or the requirements that a company is looking for, what makes you the best candidate. So if you're 20, 23 years in the service, try to think back, what is the past 10 years? And then how do you craft that to be more relevant to the positions that you're applying to? Going back 23 years can date you, but some of that experience that you've done there, if it's not relevant, then don't list it. You don't want to kind of create an autobiography, but you want to make sure that it's very poignant and directed at the position you're looking to do next.
Awesome. Okay, so the next question, and Christina, get ready because this one's coming to you, and then I'm going to chime in on the back end. How do I find jobs as a new military wife with a background in education, but looking to explore other opportunities as well?
That's awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing with finding opportunities maybe outside of what you're normally used to, as you said, background in education, is really just trying to figure out what are your main skill sets and how can those kind of translate to other industries or opportunities. For example, with education, really tends well to training and development, right? You're having those, opportunities to create content, train individuals on maybe a new skill set, things like that. So really trying to think about the core competencies that you have in your background and how they can relate to some other roles as well. On Indeed, we do have a career pathing avenue as well that you can take a look at that might help you try to narrow down what opportunities might work best for your education background. So those are some things I would think about, but really just, again, try to narrow down, what core competencies you have and try to match those with some other industries as well, which might be helpful.
Awesome. And something I'd like to add, just kind of what we went over today in the presentation, really utilizing some of the key terms that you're typing into Indeed in your searches. Get creative with it. Put down education, then you can put down maybe childhood growth, or you can put down training or personnel, or just play with some of those different soft skills as well as the hard skills that you're bringing to the table and see what comes up. You may find some industries and companies that you've never heard of before that you can put your application in and get on the phone with that recruiter and learn more. It could be something you never thought of before, and that education background was very relevant in training and making you the best qualified candidate.
You can also play around with Google too, like, best jobs for, previous educators or things like that, because they really do have a lot of different opportunities out there, as Jacqueline said, that you might not know exist. But you can find, these opportunities by looking, previous education experience, career paths or things like that. So that's also another way to play around with it that will help you then find those keywords that will help you in your Indeed search.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. Okay, Stephen, this one's coming to you. Where should my military experience appear on a resume? Under the special military experience heading or work experience?
Yeah, Jackie, that's a great question. Being a recruiter, I'm typically the first point of contact into a potential company, and the resume is the thing that we look at daily. We evaluate. We read pretty intricately, but in a very quick manner. So keep that in mind. I think the average time a recruiter or a hiring manager spends on a resume is anywhere between 6 and 7 seconds. So you really want to have that perfected. And to Jackie's point, creating a targeted resume, doing your research on the organization, understanding the job description and the keywords and really what the intricacies of that role are. But in terms of what to think about and how to format that document, you can certainly follow the typical chronological format. I would recommend that because it's fairly basic and simplistic to follow. But a great way to showcase the military skills that you possess and how you can transfer those into the civilian world is through your summary at the beginning. Highlight your overall experience in the service, where you were, what you did, who you led, and what part of what teams you were a part of. And then thinking about how to blend that exposure and experience throughout the body of your resume is really crucial as well. Things that you can tackle and make stand out to help you be outside of the group of all the other applicants. Show leadership, the strong work ethic that the military has helped you perfect, the discipline that you used, the integrity that you've gained, respect for superiors and from even people that you have reporting to you, resourcefulness, flexibility, training, adaptation. Those are just a few of the things that you could potentially add throughout the body. But when you think of how to do this, think about using more civilian and kind of plain language terms, if you will, so the employer or potential recruiter can understand that we don't know all of the acronyms, we don't know all of the rankings and the accomplishments and the duties. So make sure those are somewhat layman's terms, and of course be clear and concise throughout the resume. And it's always a good idea to have a non-military member or a civilian or a friend, family member read your actual document to proofread.
And just to jump in there as well, when you're creating your Indeed profile, if it's the first time or you have one and you haven't added it before, there is a military service section that you're able to put in a lot of the information about your military service, as well as any type of accommodations or decorations, or if you want to go into more detail. The benefit of doing that and adding it to your profile is, one, employers get more access to you. So the employers looking to hire military talent have the ability to contact you without using their allotted contacts for that given month. We really incentivize employers to contact more military experienced candidates, so having it free is a great way to do so. Also, we're able to do a better job at helping companies that want to hire military target you on our platform with positions that are currently open. So that's the one thing I would definitely try to add in there. Keep your resume a little bit different than how your Indeed profile is set up. Ensuring that your military service is in there is really going to open up a lot of doors on our platform with employers.
And a couple other things I wanted to add, actually. Be reminded of using plain sort of everyday language and verbiage, and be clear and concise. I think the transition can be difficult if you're using purely military acronyms, ranking information, duties, and accomplishments. So remember to use a little bit more civilian language if you can too.
Awesome. Okay. Next question. Drew, this one's coming to you. I've been out of the military for 27 years. However, I know employers get some type of benefit from hiring a vet. But what about civil service positions? How do we apply for these types? If a civil service exam is required and is there a civil service exam required to get a GS position?
Yeah, good question. And thanks for bringing that up. The one thing Indeed does is, when you think about how we get all the jobs onto our platform, we're a data aggregator. We're pulling in these jobs from every site, from every job board, from all the different company pages to ensure that we have the jobs on Indeed. Some jobs are going to require the civil service exam. If you're looking at, for instance, a police position, sometimes it is a requirement to have the civil service exam completed. Whether you have that completed yet or not, that's up to your background and whether you fit the requirements or not. Every time you do a search and you want to see if the civil service exam is a requirement or not, just go to the job description. It should be in there under requirements. If that's a hard requirement, I don't see why they wouldn't be putting that into the job description. One thing Indeed does is we have a search quality team. So really the types of jobs we want on our platform are jobs that you can hit the ground running on day one, jobs that you don't have to go through extra exams and get different degrees or certificates or licenses or anything that comes out of pocket. So if you do have the background and it's a good fit, we definitely have those positions on Indeed. But if you do have to go through that exam, that's something that you have to go through and then put that in your resume, then go through that process, or apply and then see if you're able to talk to a recruiter about that position and find out more about it. So that's kind of where Indeed stands for that. We're bringing them on the site, and then it's kind of up to the employer and the job seeker to have the right information and make sure all that stuff is stated in it.
That was a popular one. Okay, next one. Many jobs do both appear to list a salary range. If I enter a target salary range in my search, how does that affect the results? I don't want to miss out on jobs simply because they don't identify pay rates up front.
So when you are searching for jobs on Indeed, you will see a salary estimate filter. And what that does is it basically lets you decide what your desired compensation is, and it will change the results based on that on two different things. So we have a tool that we use to estimate based on the job title, the amount of years of experience, what that salary usually looks like. And we also have the ability to have employers actually put what the salary range is. So those will also be filtered. So let's say you're looking at a job and you're estimated, you want to make at least $80,000 a year, and you do a search. So if you change that to 80,000, it may remove some of the jobs that would be a lower salary estimate than what the 80,000 is that you put in. So if you don't want to miss out on jobs, I would say just you don't feel like you need to use that tool. It is a great tool if you know what you're looking for and what you want to make, and you're not flexible in terms of your salary. If you need to make a certain amount, that is a great tool to use to kind of help you figure out what jobs make the most sense. But again, just be kind of cognizant and open to, the different salary ranges. You definitely can have those conversations with the recruiter as you, start to speak on the role and give your salary expectations. That's something us as recruiters we're definitely aware of, and we want to make sure that the role makes sense and it makes sense based on what you're expecting as well. So those are conversations that will happen early on. So don't feel like you're going to go through a whole process and not know what your the compensation looks like. So, but about the actual tool, and hopefully that'll help. But yeah, I would say it's totally okay not to use that if you're open to multiple different ranges and different jobs with different salaries.
What would you say in terms of, as they're considering a salary range coming out, maybe aligning with their rank or, allowance, housing allowance or so forth, and how maybe they can utilize that?
Yeah, I think that, you have to take a look at the job, the role that you're looking for, and the average salaries there, and understand that in some instances, with the compensation package that the military has, you may not be able to get exactly what you had. So I think that going into a salary conversation with an open mind, and just having a low end and a high end that you're thinking through, and working through negotiating different areas of conversation if the exact salary amount isn't what you compare to in the military.
Yeah, and kind of a great pulse check too is if you do a search and you start applying to a lot of jobs and say the salary is 100K and you apply to 25 jobs and you haven't heard back from anybody, maybe bring that number down a little bit and see between the 80 and 100K, and then see if you start getting callbacks with recruiters and having those open conversations with them. I think there is sometimes a misalignment with what salary you're going to expect to get in the civilian world versus military. When you start cutting out hazard pay and a lot of these other benefits that are kind of incorporated into your base pay, the civilian world is a little bit different. So again, if you are not really getting any bites or hits on your resume, that could be a great adjustment to make. You can always go low and then go higher as well, but you really want to open up the door, initially with the recruiter or the interviewer, and just bring it up and just say, what are the salary expectations? Do your research and say, I do have the background X, Y, and Z. I should be getting that and start, seeing if there's a negotiating piece there. But if you're not getting any feedback or getting any hits, then you should probably adjust your salary range accordingly as well.
Great question. Awesome. Should I list my experience when my degree and career path are unrelated to my military experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say yes, just because you have the ability to take all the experience you get and really show that you're well-rounded. So regardless of whether or not you received a degree or your career path is related to your military experience is great experience and is something that will really show recruiters, different perspectives on, what experience you have. So I would say definitely list it. I think it's better to have more experience on your resume than less. Just if you are, I guess, specifically looking for a track that is let's say you got a degree in nursing and, that's the career path you're on, you can play around with your resume and have multiple, different resumes based on like the tracks, like Jacqueline had mentioned earlier, having a targeted resume. But I definitely think it's important to include that experience. Just because it shows you're well-rounded. It shows that you have a lot of different perspectives and experiences. And I know for a fact when I'm looking at resumes, I love to see all of the different experiences that, students have or new university grads have as well. So that's just something I would say it's okay to keep. Just make sure that you try to keep your resume to, 1 or 2 pages if you can. Going over that be a little too much. So just try to condense it if you can.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, keep in mind the experiences that you've had in the military. Many of you were 18, 19 years old and given very complex missions to carry out and lead. And that is experience that many people that went straight into college may not have had. So those are really great examples of your adaptability, your ability to really take control of a situation if you don't have all the tools. So don't gyp yourself out on that experience and those talking points on your resume. Awesome. Okay, next question. Stephen, I am going to send this one to you. People with no military background always say the standard, "Thank you for your service," when they find out that you're a veteran. If the conversation goes beyond that, the next common phrase would be, I'm assuming, something along the lines of PTSD issues. In general, most people, including employers, start with the assumption that veterans are damaged goods. And to some extent, an employer will often associate veteran status with some type of liability. During an interview, how do you recommend quickly overcoming this unspoken barrier?
Yes, Jackie, that's a pretty intricate question. Myself, I am not a veteran. I'm a military brat. My dad served in the Army in Texas. But in terms of the first component of this question and topic, someone who's spent the majority of their career in the military transition, making that transition to the civilian space, may have some preconceived notions, may have some implicit biases or misinterpretations or misconceptions, that the hiring manager or a potential recruiter could even have in their head. So I think in regard to PTSD and that misconception, first and foremost, we know that it's a very serious thing that a lot of veterans suffer with throughout the rest of their lives after leaving the service. But also remember, it's not just a military related issue. It's a human condition. Everybody that has maybe had some sort of life altering or life changing event, or has been in a car accident, or has seen something that they didn't necessarily want to see, that could create PTSD. So use that situation maybe to educate the employer or the interviewer that's asking those questions, and really use that in a positive way to spin the conversation with your answer. There's also the misconception that veterans may only want leadership roles. They may be overly aggressive. They might yell. Television and movies has really sort of portrayed military service members to be sometimes aggressive, yelling orders or obscenities at subordinates, and getting in people's faces in kind of an aggressive manner. I think a good way to answer these types of questions in interviews is make the interviewer know and understand how you are able to compartmentalize emotions and feelings, and use that really and share how you've collaborated with other people, how you've led teams under stressful situations, how you can adapt to ambiguity in the workplace in a very fast-paced type of manner. I think thinking in that regard, in a positive way, teaching back at times, but also letting people know that you've been in high-stress situations, you've been in mission-critical situations. Maybe you've had to strategize, you've had to lead, you've had to direct. So think in those terms, and how you can take your experiences, apply them in a certain way that's maybe presented more positively, and share that sort of way.
Yeah, I would say one stat that we kind of throw out there, and a part of like the employer education piece that we do here at Indeed, 79% of employers said they actually look for military experience candidates first because of their leadership, their qualities, their skill sets, and what they really bring to the table. what this question seems to kind of point out is probably that other 21% of those employers that kind of have those biases or that misunderstanding or that stigma that they're putting on these candidates. There's over 1.5 million employers on Indeed. So when you do come across some of those questions and you're getting a bad feeling or it doesn't feel like a good fit, make a pivot and look at other companies that are hiring veterans out there. Don't always put all your eggs in one basket. If you're not having a good experience with them, why continue to go down the path or bring it up to them and be truthful and honest, with them. And again, I think that goes back to what we mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, is that misconception that everyone is combat arms in the military, and the vast majority of folks are actually the ones behind the scenes doing all the heavy lifting and moving everything from point A to point B and keeping everything organized. So, when you start coming across these questions, one, I think always be positive on an interview. I know Jacqueline brings that up in when she's talking about a resume and a cover letter. Positivity is contagious. So maybe the way you present yourself and the first impression that the recruiter gets from you is like, wow, I'm not even going to bring up any of this because this person is positive, they're focused, they're driven, and they're excited. But if you go on there, with a chip on your shoulder that, you should be hired just because you do have military experience and start going down that road, that's when, some of these things could pop its head out. And I've seen both sides of it. So staying on the side of positivity and just being focused and soften up your image a little bit. As you see everyone on this call, everyone's wearing t-shirts, or the colors of Indeed. That's our company culture. Do your research and see what their company culture is. Don't go there with a suit and tie if it's a startup, tech firm that everyone's wearing a t-shirt at, because they might think, oh, this person is very structured and, that's how they carry themselves. So do a little bit of research too, but the power's in your hands. And if you do have a bad experience like that, make that pivot, go elsewhere. There's a lot of employers looking to hire military experienced folks. So don't feel like you're pigeonholed in that.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think one more thing that I would add is just understanding that there could be opportunities on your resume or on your cover letter to change some of that verbiage. So I think of an experience I've had when I was supporting agency recruiting, and I had a candidate that was a drill sergeant, and the company said, well, are they going to be able to be approached by maybe a generation younger than them? Are they going to be able to understand a different generation? Are they going to be really to the point? Are they going to have soft skills? And those are really easy questions for that candidate, because as a drill sergeant, they led quite a few soldiers in their past, that they were more of a motivator. They had to approach people from all different types of generations. So sometimes playing around with some of the skills that you're listing on your resume, maybe your opening paragraph, talking more along the lines of, training or personnel or safety or things like that, that you can take out some of those assumptions that may be geared towards more of like a PTSD question. Okay, awesome. Next question. How successful have you been placing veterans versus those recently leaving active duty? Oh, that's a really good question. So for me personally, I have supported both. I've worked for companies that targeted people that were transitioning out of the service, but I've also supported companies that were looking for veterans who had already been in the civilian sector with industry experience. It really is not like a pro or con on either side. It really is how service members like yourself showcase the expertise that you're bringing to the table. If there is a concern around ageism or changing of industries often, or career path or something like that. It really is going to be focused around the message that you're sending in your resume, the message that you're presenting to the recruiter or the hiring manager. And they should be looking at your expertise that you're bringing to the table and how you can impact that team.
Jackie, kind of to piggyback on what you just mentioned, every employer has different needs and different qualifications for their jobs. A lot of employers come to us and say, how can we get a pipeline of transition service members, 6 months out so we can, go through their resumes and get them ready day one. We want them, butts in seat. And then we have employers that come to us and say, I love what the military has taught this individual, but we really need them to get, 3 to 5 years of civilian experience to bring them, because it's a very X, Y, and Z type company. And this is the type of background we're looking for. So we see a little bit of both. So again, I think look at the job descriptions, go into company pages, doing your research, seeing if it's a cultural fit or seeing what type of fit it would be for you. And again, if you get that interview, bring it up, ask questions. That's what recruiters, love to do, is just answer questions and see and work with you to see if you're the best fit for the company.
And I just want to give one shout out. Somebody had put a question in terms of transitioning after 20 years, finding ourselves in the job market. Look, it's 2020 is a crazy year. Indeed has a lot of resources for job seekers that are looking to hire now. We have virtual hiring conferences going on in your region. And we also have quite a few tools that you might be able to utilize in terms of how to transition your resume to change careers. That's definitely something we'll make sure to add in there, but check out our Indeed and changing careers tools. That could be definitely beneficial for you as you're redrafting your resume, getting yourself out there, maybe considering some other industries that you haven't in the past. Okay, Mike, I think we have time for one more question. And this is one that I feel like we hear often when we're talking to military job seekers. Are there any tools to narrow down jobs if I have no idea where I want to live? And I'm thinking this could be maybe if you have your military relocation, how to keep that open, or how to target companies that are outside of where you want to live, or remote. Yeah, Mike, I think this would be a great one for you.
I think that as far as tools go, if we're talking about using Indeed, you could search just the opportunities that are out there without tying a city to that, or use the remote term in the where to find remote jobs. But if you're trying to really figure out maybe where you want to be, you could use the strategy more or less about the function or the jobs or the companies and where they're located at. So if you have a specific top 10 list of companies or top 10 list of roles, you can look and see where the majority of those positions lie, and then focus your energy on those cities maybe, and that can give you some direction on where you'd like to relocate. If that's not a priority, if the place is not a priority, maybe you prioritize it by a company that has the environment you're looking for, or where those roles are at that you're looking for. So that's how I would approach it.
Awesome. Drew, there's one question that I think we should address before we end this. I know we have a couple minutes. There is a question around assessments, our Indeed skill assessments. Do employers use those? Do you have any recommendations on leveraging assessments?
Yeah, so I think assessments is such a great and powerful tool that Indeed now has. One of the great things about doing assessments, when you're setting up your profile, you're able to take as many assessments as you want, and you're able to see how you kind of gauge yourself while taking those assessments, and then you're able to post that to your profile. This is something that employers do look at, and this is something that when you start applying to jobs, the company might send you an assessment to do. So that also kind of keeps your fact checking in and making sure your resume is in line with what your capabilities are as well. So one thing I suggest is, depending on which industry you're looking to go in, take a ton of assessments, post the ones to your profile that you really want to showcase. A great example is knowing some service members that picked up a side hustle or a skill during their service. For let's say real estate, for instance, and they took a ton of assessments and they scored proficient, but there's nowhere on their resume that shows that they actually have background in this. The assessment really kind of shows the employer that you know how to do this job and whether to give you a chance to at least bring it up. So my suggestion is, practice a ton of assessments. Keep an eye out because employers are going to send assessments to you as well. So you want to make sure that you're truthful in that. But yes, they do look at it.
Definitely look at all of the different assessments. It could give you some ideas about other industries and positions that you may be really great for that you didn't consider. So definitely look at that. You can find that at the bottom of your Indeed job seeker account. So take some time to check that out. Awesome. Well, we are just at time. I know that we have a ton of really great questions that are still here. Thank you all so much for coming and spending this afternoon with us. I want to wish you all a very happy Veterans Day, and I hope to see you soon.